because we also have an overlap with what seems to be the pickup artist mentality, where we have people like
It's not red pill, but that's not red pill. Just because you're a pickup artist, think of the red pill as a data packet.
If we look at the outcomes, you can't say that the outcome is the same where you're sleeping with one person for the rest of your life versus you're sleeping with all of these other people.
How dare you, Pearl Davis? How dare you, Andrew Wilson, say that you think that, oh, I don't know, maybe this chick who had sex with hundreds of men on film, how dare you not kiss their ass? Yeah, that's a losing message.
Hey fam, welcome back to One and Done. This is part 2 of the debate between Chen and Andrew Wilson. Now in part 2, they go more in depth into red pill, and it's interesting to see how these two perspectives sort of weave in and out of each other. Now without delay, we're going to jump in, but before we do, if you want to help a brother out, help me get to that 1,000 sub club. Don't forget to hit the like, smash the subscribe, ring the notification bell, and let's jump on in. Roll that tape.
Well, I told you it's the push for the promiscuity, because we also have an overlap with what seems to be the pickup artist mentality, where we have people like
Fresh and Fit
going on sugar baby sites, right, and sleeping with all of these women.
Yeah, the push towards promiscuity is something which I push back on more than most, but that's not red pill. Just because you're a pickup artist, think of the red pill as a data packet. Inside of the data packet is a ton of information. You can utilize it how you see fit. Can you utilize it for the purposes of nefarious manipulation? Yes. Can you also utilize it for the purposes of help building men up and men's advocacy? Yes. You can't lay at the feet of the red pill the fact that some pickup artists and some people push towards promiscuity. That's not a red pill ideology. Red pill is simply information. That's it. It's descriptive truths which are given out into the ethos, and you can do what you want with those descriptive truths. I've not actually ever heard, and I've been on Fresh and Fit, and I have tangled with Myron on this, and he has told me to my face, yes, it's degenerate behavior. Yes, promiscuity is bad.
True.
Yes, promiscuity should be rejected if we had a moral society. Andrew, what are Christians going to do to reach out in order to make sure we have a moral society again? In this case, when I ask you, right, you are telling the degens to get married, which is insane, right?
That's not my prescription to have a more moral society, is to just get married. That's absolutely not it.
Yeah, definitely. I have heard Myron plenty of times admit that, yes, having multiple partners, etc., is degenerate behavior. Now, eventually because he's from Muslim background, he wants to have multiple wives. And once again, because Muslims have traditional roles, he finds that more attractive than Christianity. Red pillars like Myron Gaines are basically just providing you the information. Think of it like adding tools in your tool belt.
It was it. I caught you in a contradiction on it already. That you're advocating as bad a sin as they are. What is the distinction between them saying go have sex unmarried with a bunch of people and you saying no, get married secularly, absent a sacrament? You're both advocating for the same exact thing, Lauren.
It's not the same exact thing. Even if we just look at the consequentialist, and again, I think you're right. Actually,
you're not a
regard to
consequentialist.
Secular
You're
marriage.
a Christian.
But if we look at the outcomes, you can't say that the outcome is the same where you're sleeping with one person for the rest of your life versus you're sleeping with all of these other people. That's actually not the same. It's not
wait.
In terms of the outcome.
But it's still degeneracy on both sides. If they're getting married absent a sacrament, right, they're still degenerates. And if they're promiscuous, they're still degenerates. You're both advocating for degeneracy. You're both just doing it in different ways. And that's why guys like me exist, to push back on these ideologies, because it's nuts. It's actually crazy.
Well, I think, again, I will say you're right about the civil marriage thing, and I will thank you for elucidating that for me. That's totally fine. But I think even if we look at purely from a secular standpoint, with the acknowledgement that a civil marriage is not a sacramental marriage, and therefore is sinful, if we look at the outcomes of things like promiscuity involving multiple partners, then we have children being born out of wedlock.
You still have them being born out of wedlock. Your prescription also would have children being born out of wedlock.
Yeah, but to multiple baby mamas and things like that, which is objectively worse.
Okay, so now you're consequentialist again. Now you're consequentialist again.
And if we look at the outcomes like poverty, think like abuse, there is a difference between a secular married couple versus just sleeping with a bunch of women.
I see Andrew's point, and think about it. If you're having children in that situation, you've got your parents. you've got yourselves, you've got your church community reinforcing the positive messages that you believe in to your children. And when you're feeling not so happy, it would be a lot easier in a secular marriage or relationship, almost like boyfriend and girlfriend, to say, look, this is just, it's too tough. I'm not happy. See you later. Now, if you have that support system around you that have the beliefs that you believe in, they can help you get back on track and salvage your marriage, because that is one of the most important things. There's no such thing as a perfect marriage, but you don't realize what you have to lose until you're out of it. Your children are going to suffer.
There's a difference.
Okay. So just to get this right, I get it. You're advocating for degeneracy light. Got it. Like, does that I don't know how that makes it better that you advocate for degeneracy light
I'm not
instead of
I'm not
tons of degeneracy
for that marriage in the first place, but I can still recognize that the outcomes are different and one is measurably worse than the other.
Yeah, but the
100%
outcomes, you're not a consequentialist. Christians don't follow consequentialism. While it's true we can look at outcomes, you're supposed to be following virtues and the teachings of Jesus Christ, not of what the consequences of your higher duties are. If you were a consequentialist and a Christian, that would be absent the Christian ethic and the Christian ethos, period. And it doesn't even follow with the logos. None of this follows, Lauren. None of it follows.
But so you're saying that these red pill men are secular, therefore we have to speak to them in terms of a secular language, what the pros and the cons are. There is still a secular argument to be made for why you should not be sleeping with a bunch of women like one night stands and pickup artist style. There's still a secular argument to be made
you can
for
make
society
that,
why
yes,
that is worse.
You can make that secular argument, but here's the thing. It's not enough to destroy their worldview if you can't offer them one that's better. And what they hear is hypocrisy, and what they hear is nonsense. What they hear is you saying, hey, the best thing that you can do is get married, in spite of the fact that my values say that you're not even really married. That these are insane positions which are put together in order to attack the red pill who's just trying to give descriptive truths. I'm not saying that their prescriptions are great. That's where you get into some of the pickup artist stuff. Most of them don't make prescriptions, though. Rollo calls it a praxeology. It's not, but he calls it a praxeology. These different people have different names for it, but they're just trying to give descriptive claims for how the world actually works. And all I see is you beating the hell out of them and kissing the ass of former prostitutes like Nala and kissing the ass of all of these women and saying, how dare you? How dare you, Pearl Davis? How dare you, Andrew Wilson, say that you think that, oh, I don't know, maybe this chick who had sex with hundreds of men on film has done absolutely nothing to show the fruits or in any way really repent or show any remorse for this. How dare you not kiss their ass? Yeah, that's a losing message. It's a losing message.
Absolutely. You have to meet them where they are. Now, Lauren has a beautiful, idealistic mindset. Unfortunately, the world doesn't operate like that. Doesn't function like that. And the person they're referring to there, Nala, this is this redhead woman. She used to be an OnlyFans model who recently got baptized. But then it came out, I think Pearl Davis said that her account was still live and running. I don't think it is right now as we speak, but it was after she was baptized.
What do you mean? What about the Mendo?
Because what about the Mendo? Every time that we get into these discussions, and we even in this discussion / debate that we're having right now, almost every single time we bring up the female promiscuity issue, you bring it right back to men. You call the men the homemakers. You call the men the people who are responsible. You did. You said the red pillars are exacerbating the same issue they rage against. The thing is interesting here is when you're talking about hypergamy, that would actually be in opposition to your point. That's point one. And then point two is that while there are homemakers inside of these red pill spaces, most of them are feminists. And most of the debates I do with these red pillars, I prove that they're feminists because they embrace the ethic of destroying patriarchy for the purpose of degeneracy. But it's not a men's problem here. This is a woman's problem.
I very much, I disagree that I don't think that the problem is also amongst women and the women's promiscuity. I've done who knows how many videos at this point talking about promiscuity specifically amongst women, including women who do OnlyFans. I very much believe that this is, women are the gatekeepers of sex historically. So
that's a red pill talking point.
Yeah, it's a correct talking
All
point.
of the descriptors are mostly correct. I still haven't actually heard what you've done is conflated red pill with pickup artists. I haven't actually heard a single criticism of the red pill.
So you seem to, when we talk about even like feminists or red pill, you're like, this is specifically what the, like, I guess what the most basic belief structure that each one of them holds. Therefore, anything absent that, that's not really feminism. That's not really red pill.
No, I'm not giving you a no true Scotsman fallacy. I can explain. That's you're trying to move into a no true Scotsman fallacy, and that's not what I'm saying.
No. That's not what I'm doing. Let me finish.
Okay.
So I'm taking the position of this is what the movements exist as. Like the feminist movement. This is what the feminist movement represents. These are what feminists argue for. This is what the red pill movement represents. These are what, and again, like I specifically will talk about people like Pearl Davis because I will fully acknowledge that I don't follow people like Rollo Tomasi, or I'm sure there's other ones who are part of it that I don't follow. Like this is what red pill as a movement has brought.
That's an interesting perspective, that these red pillars that are so-called homemakers, according to Andrew Wilson, are actually feminists because they want to be opportunistic, I guess. But I don't understand Lauren. Well, I think I do. I understand why she's upset with these people like Pearl Davis, Myron Gaines, Rollo Tomasi. Now, she's married. She probably doesn't want this sort of ideology spreading to her husband and partner. Maybe, maybe not. Now, what I've seen of her so far, she is of good character. I think she's arguing in good faith, and she's handled herself extremely well. But she really is up against it here when it comes to Andrew Wilson.
What has it brought?
Well, I think if we're talking about the red pill movement, there's absolutely the idea and that male promiscuity should be excused or is not as bad as female promiscuity.
And what is your evidence for this?
This is something, well, I'm talking specifically about people like Pearl Davis, like Myron.
No, Pearl Davis nor Myron say this. Here's what they say. They give a descriptor. This is the problem, right? You don't know what you're talking about on these issues. The descriptor, I'm going to tell you the descriptor.
That it's not the same when
it's not, and here's why. The descriptor here is true. Here's the descriptor. The descriptor is that promiscuity in society is not punished by women towards men because of hypergamy. However, it is punished by men towards women, meaning the value set due to our ontology, which is different, right? Women seem to not be as upset by male promiscuity as men get by female promiscuity. This is objectively true. We have all of the data you could possibly imagine proving that this is true. Women seem to not care so much. Now, this could have something to do with the penetrative act, because if you look at homosexuality, for instance, both sides seem to be they have a disgust reaction to this. It could be due to the penetrative nature. I'm not exactly sure why this exists as a descriptive truth, but it is descriptively true. That is their point. Their point is not whether or not this behavior is good for men. Most red pillars say that promiscuity for men is not a good thing, in fact. But that doesn't mean that the descriptive truth that is viewed differently between the sexes isn't true, because it is. It most definitely is.
That's 100% true. And you can easily see it in society. Look at people like Drake. Look at people like Leonardo DiCaprio, George Clooney. Now, these guys have been slinging ding-a-ling for so long, yet they still have hordes of women after them. Women aren't disgusted by it. Now, I'm sure there are some, but if you lined up all the available women in the world, well, at least in the West, the majority of them would entertain the thought of hooking up with one of these men. Maybe not exactly these men, but you get the point. Someone with status, someone that other women want.
But then, so you come along and say, Pearl actually means XYZ. Let me explain it. This is not what Pearl is saying when she is online, when she is tweeting out. This is a very different thing. And this is where I think Pearl shoots herself in the foot a lot, because I don't know if she's engagement farming to try to like say things in the most provocative way possible. But she does not say that men and women, or she does not just say that, oh, cheating is viewed differently from men as it is women, therefore whatever. She will actually say that it's not a big deal if a man cheats. Like
no.
just that
what happens, and Pearl also clarified this, and I even have the tweets of her clarifying this. She's clarified it a million times. But what happens is, because you have a character limitation, what people do, and it's a leftist game, they take what is said out of context. They portray that as a position of Pearl Davis, even though she's clarified it 100 times. That promiscuity for men is not good. However, it is more understandable in society because they're not punished for it by women the same way women are punished for it by men. This operates under incentives. That's showing you an incentive difference.
He's right once again. Pearl Davis has come out and said this. In fact, she has a humorous way of saying it. She gets asked, what if your partner plays around on you? She's like, well, I hope he doesn't. But she says she's realistic enough to say that he may do. For her, it's not the end of the world. If she's got kids, she's not going to break up the family for that. Now, she's not encouraging it. No one's encouraging it. What she's saying is, if these circumstances are put in front of me, I'm not going to sacrifice my family, the well-being of my family, because my husband or partner or husband has stepped out. And I believe she's come to this conclusion because she understands the statistics for single mothers. They are horrific. And also, your children are more likely to be molested and abused from a non-biological parent or partner. So she's got the information and she is going to walk into a marriage with that information and that knowledge. No, she doesn't want anyone to be promiscuous. In fact, the marriage stats show that if both partners are virgins, they have 80% chance of having a happy, successful marriage. Now, if the female's had 3 to 5 partners, that drops down to like 30-40%. Sorry, even less. I think it's 20 to 30%. So she's got the information, and that's what she'd be making her decisions on, not on the emotion at the time. Oh, don't worry. I'm sure she's going to let him know how she feels. But she's going to do everything in her power to choose the right partner. And with the information she has, she's equipped herself to look for the right things. Now, there's no guarantees, but if you're going to do it, why not increase the chances of success?
But I think she's also, she's leading her audience down the wrong path, because you'll have men like Matt Walsh and Michael Knowles who argue for marriage very strongly.
Yeah, that's right. They argue for secular marriage and have the same contradiction you do, which is why the red pill doesn't take them seriously.
Can I finish?
Yeah, go ahead.
She'll look at someone like Matt Walsh and Michael Knowles and say, like, well, your marriages aren't representative because you are the X%, so you can't translate your experience universally toward men. It's like, okay, but simultaneously she will just say it's not as big of a deal for men to cheat. If you look at a lot of women in their relationships with their husbands, with their boyfriends, they will absolutely think that is a big deal if they cheat. Now, if you're saying like, oh, well, the top 1%, their wives who might be trophy wives are not going to think it as big of a deal. They're going to turn the other cheek. Well, Pearl is doing the exact same thing that she accuses Matt Walsh and Michael Knowles of doing, trying to apply the standards for the top 0.1% to the average male in the dating pool or in the marriage pool.
This is insane. This is insane framing because you want to point out hypocrisy where it doesn't exist. Matt Walsh and the Tradcons suffer from the exact same contradiction that you do, which is to give a green light to secularists to get married, which is degenerate in and of its own nature, is a degenerate, non-sacramental act. It is not a Catholic act. It is not an Orthodox act for secularists to engage in this kind of degeneracy in society and then wrap it up in a bow with a state contract. That's insanity. Not only that, but none of these guys actually are willing to debate the issues with any of these people. Rollo Tomasi, Myron, all of these different red pillars have done a call out to debate with the Daily Wire people on this particular issue because they're because they're straw man so heavily, and none of them will do it. Not one.
Now, actually, I did see the one, most of it, the one with Michael Knowles and Pearl Davis. Now, unfortunately, Michael Knowles, was being his funny self. He has been his humorous self. But whenever any of the actual facts and statistics were placed in front of him, he sort of made a joke of it. So it wasn't a real debate. And I think he grabbed Pearl for this debate because I think he felt as though, because Pearl is a nice person, he felt as though that he could sort of manhandle, I guess, the situation, for lack of better terminology. But I could tell in Pearl's body languages, she was super disappointed. And I think I was as well, because I don't think Michael Knowles was genuinely in that debate. Now, all the guys from Daily Wire, they are in successful marriages. They're all religious. They're not all from the same religion, but I'm sure they're all quite devout and very happy for them, of course. Like I said in the part 1 of this video, the state marriage contract is a killer for men. Literally. There is so much to lose. Your children, your house, your business. It's a high-risk game.
So that tells me right? At least you could, like, I have some respect for you, at least, Lauren, because you showed up to do the debate. I mean, kudos to you. Great. At least we had it. These guys won't even show up to a debate. We had it all set up with Myron Gaines. We had it all set up on whatever. We've had it set up a dozen times to take these guys to task on their absurd criticisms of what is considered the red pill, and they refuse to even show up. Instead, they go into a smoke-filled cigar room and film each other kissing each other's asses and talking about how great it is that they want secular people to get married. Oh, wow. We've really won the culture war now, Lauren.
Well, I mean, to be fair to them, like, I'm not a Daily Wire employee. I'm not a fan of the Daily Wire as a whole. I like Matt Walsh and Michael Knowles, though. But Andrew Klavan and Michael Knowles have both sat down with Pearl specifically. They have had those conversations. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have further ones.
Yeah, Klavan got destroyed by Pearl Davis, who's not even a good debater. Yeah, I can't even tell you how badly it would go for the Daily Wire guys to have guys like me who I'm not even a red pillar. I just don't straw man their position. Same thing, Rollo Tomasi, Myron Gaines, all of these guys, they would absolutely obliterate them. And that's why they hide, because they don't have prescriptions to these problems. And that's a big problem if you're out there advocating for Christianity. And what ends up happening is we all look stupid. We get pummeled. These guys in their spaces laugh at us, and I don't blame them.
Wow, Daily Wire, you've been called out again. Now, I'm not happy with the stuff they did with Candace. They put a gag order on her. They said they were going to come out and debate. Well, Ben Shapiro said, and I honestly think Candace would have wiped the floor of them, to be honest. Now, I would love to see Andrew Wilson and Myron Gaines versus, say, Ben Shapiro and Michael Knowles. That would be fantastic, and it would be great for the wider community. They should do it. They both have great perspectives, and there's not many better debaters than Ben Shapiro. But like Andrew Wilson said, he doesn't strawman the arguments. He understands the arguments, and that's what makes him such a dangerous blood sport debater. And I honestly think that debate, man, I'd pay to see that. I really would. Because you've sort of got the red pill, who has a large audience. You put all those groups of people together, including Andrew Tate, up against Christian Michael Knowles and Jewish Ben Shapiro. You have the traditional and the modern worlds colliding. That would be fantastic. What would come out of that would be amazing. But Daily Wire, you're letting everyone else down again. I just don't know what's going on with them.
Do you think that there exists a way for, I guess, there are secular adjustments to marriage that the red pill community would look at and think, you know, you're right, this does change my view of marriage and whether I should get married?
Repeat the question. I want to make sure I get it correct.
So do you think that there are secular changes to civil marriages? And again, I'll say it all the day long. You are right about secular marriages. I have no problems, like, you know, W for you. You're right. But do you think that there are secular changes that would make secular men more likely to get married? Because if you're saying,
but I don't want them to. I want them to get a sacramental marriage. Why would I try to move society towards degeneracy, to enabling degeneracy? Why would I do that? The truth is written on your heart. It is true that men and women are inclined to become married, but absent the sacrament, right? They're not living in a married lifestyle at all. They just have some bizarre state contract. It's totally meaningless. Why would I move heaven and earth and all of society to reform all of these laws on behalf of these men if they're not even going to go through with a sacrament, have an ecclesiastical authority which can govern their marriage? You're setting them up for failure. Absent that ground-based community, which you only get from the church. You can only get community building from the church. The reason most of these marriages actually fail, and Sexton he's a divorce lawyer. He's very popular all over the internet. Great guy. We've gone rounds and rounds about this. But one of the big keys, and if you read his book, you'll find this out, absent the groundswell community, there's nothing which keeps these marriages together. There's no shame. There's nothing to appeal to. It's just you and her, and that's it. And all of the degeneracy of the world. Why would I move heaven and earth and try to do everything that I could to promote that? I don't want to promote that. I want to move these people out of that and into sacramental marriage so that hopefully, not even hopefully, they will, based on what you and I have already discussed, which is that the more religious you are, the less likely you are to get divorced. That's going to require sacramental marriage. That's the way forward, but that requires patriarchy. I'm not going to move laws around and advocate to move these laws around so that secularists can engage in more degeneracy. That's insane.
Yeah, I agree with that. Look, once again, religion does provide a platform. Just like building a house, you need foundation. You need to have that good, firm soil around you. But I also understand Lauren's perspective. She's saying, well, marriage is better than no marriage. But Andrew's saying, why would you go halfway? Why would you promote marriage light? I see his point. I see both of their points, but I've got to go with Andrew on this one.
The civil marriage thing, I think you're right there. That's something that you've kind of blown my mind on. I don't have a problem admitting that. I think from the Daily Wire perspective, they view it as pragmatically easier to encourage people who are secular to get married, have children within that state wedlock than it is to convert them. And
yeah,
I think
we could say abortion is more pragmatic because you can get rid of the undesirables in society too if you wanted to. We're not interested as Christians in pragmatic solutions. We're interested as Christians in sacramental solutions and bringing people into the Church of Jesus Christ, the body of Jesus Christ. In order to do that, we need to have a message which can compete with the common sense messaging of the red pill, and they ain't got it. And that's why they get destroyed. And that's why guys like me, the few of us which exist, can go out there and completely dismember both sides of the argument because we actually understand what the arguments are. These are not evil men. They're trying to get by inside of this completely degenerate world. They're looking for a solution like this. Myron would be the first to engage in ecclesiastical authority when it came to marriage and recommend that men go that route. And they know that they're immoral, absent Jesus Christ and God. But if you can't offer them a superior message, the red pill is going to beat the holy tar out of you. And that's exactly what they're doing.
Damn, dropped the mic there, Andrew. He absolutely did, didn't he? He's right. If you want people to get more religious, well, then you need to stick to the religion. Stop softballing it. Read it as it's written. Implement those values. Build that foundation and they will come. And the other point that Andrew Wilson made there, I completely agree with. The red pillars are not evil men. Now, one of the things I've seen, or one of the people, that I've seen that has sort of crossed over a wee bit. I don't know if crossed over is the correct terminology, but well, anyway, it's Candace Owens. And when she went on the Fresh and Fit podcast, now she has a Christian worldview, but she was able to meet the red pillars and the 304s on Fresh and Fit and have a productive conversation. Now, coming from a woman of her stature and status, these women, they actually tuned in. And in real time, Myron and Fresh, they actually said, wow. And if you haven't seen that podcast, go watch it because it's very interesting. But this was a very interesting debate. It was great from, I think, Lauren Chen. She equipped herself very well. I thought she handled herself extremely well. It's very tough when you're coming up against Andrew Wilson. He's one of the best debaters on the internet. He's got one of the fastest growing podcasts. I think it's called The Crucible. But that'll do it for me, folks. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you want to help a brother out, help me get to that 1,000 sub club, don't forget to hit the like, smash the subscribe, ring the notification bell. And before we go, don't forget to leave your comments in the comment section. I will jump in there as I normally do, and I'll catch you in the next video.